Is this thing on? Hey, what's up, guys? My name is Jess Hood, and you are listening to the Creators Podcast. Today, I have a very special guest, my good friend Sophia. So, without further ado, let's get into it. So, what is your name, and what do you do?
My name is Sophia. My pronouns are she, her, and I am a Philadelphia-based lifestyle and queer content creator. I also am a student at Penn, University of Pennsylvania, where I'm studying nonprofit leadership. And my third hat is kind of an organization that I founded called Gay Girls Plus in 2022. So those are like the three big hats that I wear.
So, tell me a little bit about each of those and kind of a little bit more dive in to what you do with those.
Yeah, so I would say in terms of like my content creation sort of era, that kind of started during COVID very informally. I feel like during COVID, a lot of queer creators were just kind of coming to the forefront on TikTok and that sort of thing. And that's kind of how I initially got into content creation. Since then, I've really kind of realized just how impactful it can actually be. I've shifted a lot towards just like queer content to more like Philly-based content with like restaurants and things like that, but also just like a lot of social impact work. I actually studied political science in college and was hoping to go to law school. And so I've always been really driven just with like the legal system and politics and things like that. And it's been really special to me to be able to kind of bring that into my content in lots of ways. That being said, in 2022, I used my platform to create Gay Girls Plus very much by accident, kind of. I initially had I was really looking for queer friends, and I found a lot of my friendships at the time to be very unsustainable, and I wanted to find queer friends outside of the bar setting, specifically just in spaces where I felt like I could actually like meaningfully connect with other people. So in 2022, I made a TikTok and basically said, hey, who wants to go on a gay girl walk? And I made a little Google form, I put it in my bio, and like 200 plus people signed up. So that really just got me thinking that, oh wow, this sort of space is really needed. This could be something so much bigger than that. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure we'll probably get into that a little bit more, but that's kind of how it started. And since then, we've really grown into obviously a more formalized organization that just started by gay girl walks, I guess you could say.
Yeah, funny enough, I came across, like, I don't know if it was like the first TikTok where you're like, hey, we go on walks, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, this was still like when I was living in Baltimore. So like one of those like early on, like, hey, like we go on walks and we're gay. And I was like, that's so cool. I wish there was something like that in Baltimore. Yeah. And then fast forward, like,
you're here.
now I'm here.
That's
and
crazy.
Now we,
yeah, we're now we know each other.
Here.
Wait, that's crazy.
Yeah. When Alexa first brought up Gay Girls Plus, I was like, why does that sound familiar?
Oh my gosh, wait, that is crazy.
Yeah, so it's funny that now it's all
full
come
circle.
like full circle, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Wait,
Yeah.
I kind of love that story though. That's like kind of really cute. Yeah, it's funny too because when it first started, it literally was just meant to be like walks and just like those like just like spaces outside of a bar, like going outside or going to a ceramics class or whatever it might be where you could actually like talk to people.
Yeah.
So it's just crazy how it started like that on TikTok too.
Seriously, that's like
that's the power of social media.
Interesting, like how like interconnected I feel like a lot of the things that you do and how social media has changed a lot of people's lives. Like that one simple thing like TikTok is now you're able to impact so many people's lives and so many different channels, like with the Gay Girls Plus and with so you're doing a lot of stuff like with policy and that's huge too. Like it's crazy the impact that social media has. Like, a lot of people just look at it and they're like, oh, I'm gonna scroll and look at my funny videos. But I think it's really cool that you've been able to like turn that into something that's positive, not only like for you, but for other people too.
Yeah, and I mean, I've always been somebody that's so like value driven and somebody that like really thrives on like knowing I'm like able to make a difference or like do something or like connect with people, and like I've really channeled that into like the community building efforts that I've done with Gay Girls Plus, but also just like creating a little community online. I love like the people that follow me and just the people I engage with online are so special to me, and I really, really value everybody that I interact with. And it's just been really cool that being the social butterfly that I've always been, how that's translated now into like my career and like professional life. So.
Yeah. What point were you like, oh, this could be something more?
Yeah, I think the first time I kind of thought, wow, this could be bigger was when Geneva had reached out to me. Very early on when we started doing and like trying to organize some sort of like group chat or whatever, somebody suggested Geneva as an app to utilize just because like WhatsApp and like GroupMe, I don't know. We were trying to figure out what is the best way to like communicate.
Yeah.
So we made the Geneva group. I made the Geneva group. I think it was called like Philly Girls or like something like that. Like it was just not thought, there was no thought put into it because I was like, this is going to be 100 people in me. Like that's what I thought it was going to be. And then after like a couple weeks, Geneva had reached out and been like, oh, like we really appreciate and enjoy what you're doing. Like we'd love to like help build this out a bit, like give it some traction, like do some ads with you. So very early on they had reached out and I was like, okay, cool. This could maybe grow a little bit and like we can see what happens. What was very, very surprising to me was just the organic growth it had by like word of mouth, by just like the organic growth from social media, like people talking about it on TikTok, like whether I was making videos, other people were making videos, you know, Instagram, we obviously made an Instagram page to kind of market it a little bit, but I really never anticipated it to become what it has become the past couple of years. So I think the inflection point was really first like Geneva reaching out and then just like over time seeing how much it's grown and then me working with Geneva to start expanding to other cities. I was like, oh wow, this is like really, really beautiful. So yeah, it's been very rewarding and also just felt like, wow, I'm really just grateful to be a part of this community and have this community, and I hope other people feel the same way.
Yeah, I think that's part of why, like, what helped it grow so much is because a lot of people in the queer community, like, they don't feel that sense of community. And
exactly.
like you said, especially like other than going out to the bars, like it's so nice to like, you know, there's like a clothing drive that's going on, you know, next month, or the ceramic class and stuff like that. All kind of like whatever your interest is, like
there's something for you, and you can find people there if you like put yourself out there. And I think that's also what makes it special is everybody in that space is like looking for that sense of community. Like you can be vulnerable and put yourself out there because everybody else is doing the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to be afraid that someone's gonna like reject you. Like everybody is there to look for friends or dating or whatever it might be. And so it takes a little bit of pressure off of you, I think, to like be vulnerable and put yourself out there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really, really appreciate that aspect of it.
Yeah. What's been some of the challenges that's come up like with either content creation or Gay Girls Plus?
There's been quite a variety of challenges.
I believe it.
I would say, let's start with Gay Girls Plus. There can be a lot of negativity and pushback. I've learned you really cannot make everybody happy as much as you want to. As many people have their opinions and voice them to you, it is really, really hard to do community management. I started this very informally, as I said, and so I never anticipated some of the challenges to come up and the decisions I would have to make as a leader, and like even just instruct other people to make those decisions has been a lot, just because I never really learned those community management skills, but I learned them by doing them.
Yeah.
I was really kind of pushed into it without really knowing a lot of that background, and honestly, it's taken a lot of an emotional toll on me, just the organization and the pressure that I feel from it. There's been times where people have like made accusations against the organization, like blasted my face online or like things like that. And what really frustrates me is if people knew what was going on behind the scenes, if people knew how much, not just me, but everybody that has been involved from a more like leadership role cares about the org and the people in the org, I think people would maybe address it a little bit differently. But it can be really like demoralizing and defeating when all you're hearing is negativity and you're not hearing those like stories about people meeting their best friends or like meeting their partner. And so I think a lot of times you have to create healthy boundaries with the organization and the people in the organization, and also just really recenter yourself into why you're there and what you're doing and why it matters. And I think that can be said to a lot of different organizations that are doing like social impact or community building work. So it's definitely been a struggle, but I've learned definitely to set healthy boundaries. I also have an incredible group of people that do a lot of the back end work. Yeah, also just really care about what we're doing. So I'm very, very grateful to have everybody there, because when it was just like me and two other people, I was drowning. I was spending hours of my time doing it. And I think people also don't realize we don't operate like financially at all. We don't make money. We put all of that money back into the organization or whatever it might be, hosting events, paying venue fees, whatever it might be. So because of that, we're really just volunteering our time. And I think some people have this expectation like, oh, you're doing this full time, like you're doing this every hour of the day. And that's not how it works at all.
Yeah.
You know, we're doing this like we're on our lunch break, or for people that have 9 to 5s, they're like literally taking time out of their day to address problems in the group chat, or they're taking time out of their day to make a call to make sure our venue's secured, you know? Yeah. So I think that also adds a little bit more of a different dimension that a lot of people don't see. And they just are like, oh, they're making so much money. I'm like, no, we're literally making none. I'm making $0, but thank you.
Yeah, I can only imagine, because it's one thing to manage a lot of people like as a leader, and they're like your subordinates and you work together, but now it's like, okay, you're a leader, but these people aren't working for you, but you still have to find a way to like kind of manage them and like allow people to have these conversations and allow it to be a safe place, but also like you're still kind of structuring that also and you're overseeing that. So it's I can only imagine how hard that's been.
Yeah, but again, like I'm so grateful for every single aspect of Gay Girls Plus and what it's brought. But obviously, like any organization, there will be challenges, and we have seen quite a few. So yeah, I would say, I mean, I think also what's very unique about the org, because we kind of do have like a social media presence that's like attached to me, I also feel an overwhelming amount of pressure because it's like my face attached to the organization. So like anything that goes wrong, I'm going to be the one to blame, you know, and there's already so much hate online just in general against queer people, whether that be just like, you know, homophobic, transphobic, whatever, like people commenting on videos, whatever it might be. And you just want to have more faith in just like queer people to be like, no, they're doing good, they care. You know what I mean? We're like all marginalized in some way. Like, no, we care. We're here to help. But that's not the reality.
I know. I saw you got a bunch of hate on that Vans video.
Which is also crazy to me, because I was literally walking at 6 a.m. and I see somebody who literally was going through and cutting the shoes and telling me, he was like, literally, they cut these shoes, like I'm taking them out of these boxes because I want people to see what they did. So that was just like a happenstance that I made a video about. People are like, no, there's mold on them. Okay, God forbid there's mold on these shoes. I understand like that poses a health threat. What I was trying to expose is corporate irresponsibility. That's what I was trying to expose. I was not trying to make any sort of controversy over anything else other than this is crazy. And what's crazy to me is so many like people that work at these other companies, I'm not going to name them, but they were commenting, oh, my store does that too, or this place does that too, or we do that too. And I'm like, okay, well, clearly that's not a mold issue if you work there and you've had to actively do that. So maybe this was a mold issue, I don't know, but other places are doing the same thing, and this is a huge issue of like social, like corporate responsibility.
Yeah,
like,
I've seen like people on TikTok like that work at like Sephora.
Yeah,
every day.
I know. I can't even listen to it. I can't even listen to it. I've literally spent so much money at Sephora, and I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, you gotta go through the dumpsters.
I know. It's literally crazy.
Yeah.
But even at Vans, like, I know after that happened, I mean, I was getting like literally like threats to my life, and I was scared. I told my mom because I was like, this is insane. Like, people are not getting the point of why I'm exposing this. But what was also crazy to me were people took it upon themselves to then go harass the workers. I was like, nobody told the workers to do that. Yeah. This is like clearly a corporate policy that they're just abiding by.
Yeah.
Like, don't harass the 17-year-old like worker that this is their first job. Like, why are we doing that?
Yeah.
Like, how's that helping the problem?
I didn't even see it from your page. I go into Instagram and I saw it from like Philly Scoop Hall. I'm like, your social media being like also so tied with like Gay Girls Plus, and then like that in itself has got to be like the social media, being a content creator, like there's got to be a lot of hate.
People are just hateful online. It's the sad reality. People, well, I also have noticed, I'm not sure if you've seen that thing on TikTok where people are like, they'll be like, post this on Instagram Reels instead, because there's more hate on Instagram Reels, which is so interesting to me. Like, all of the Republicans are coming in hot on Instagram Reels being like, oh, like, dyke or whatever. And I'm like, okay, cool. Wow, I'm so offended. I know, literally. I'm like, thanks, honestly.
Okay, what advice would you give to somebody who's just starting out, trying to be an entrepreneur, trying to be a content creator? What advice would you give them?
Yeah, so it's actually funny you bring that up, because I posted something about this yesterday. And I first want to say, I think that there is space for everybody in the creator world, whether that be, you know, if you want to make YouTube videos or do podcasts or TikTok or whatever it might be. I think everybody has a voice there. And I say that primarily because I think it's so important to not like focus on a niche or focus on a specific like category, and more so in a lot of instances just like focus on yourself. Like, who are you? What do you bring to the world? How can you transfer that to your social media platform? So I think there really is space for everybody, every personality, everything like that. I think in terms of advice, I have just noticed, and I've actually served on a panel surrounding this, and I also have just done a lot of research about this, just about a shifting like creator economy. There is like such a stark difference now between the types of like partnerships and like influencer campaigns that go on that surround like impact issues and causes and less about product marketing. I think people kind of overlook that a lot because it's very new, it's very niche, it's very much a groundbreaking sector of like content creation and influencer marketing, but there is a huge space for people in the social impact sector. So if you are passionate about something, whether it be access to abortion, you know, climate change, whatever it might be, you can use your voice and talk about that, and there will be money in it. And it's kind of crazy because, you know, when you think about influencer marketing, you think about content creation, you're like, oh, well, how does that kind of transfer in that way? But there's money in it. Like nonprofits, NGOs, they're putting money into people that are, you know, content experts and able to talk about these things, make it digestible to their audience. So I definitely think if you have that sort of like policy sort of fiery like part about you, and or you're just really passionate about something, like try out content in that area and see how that lands with people.
Yeah. So I like the way that you've done it also, because I've seen a lot of creators in a lot of different ways, like whether it's products or whatever, they push things that they don't use.
They don't use.
They don't believe in and stuff like that. So I appreciate the way that you've done it, in that you're promoting either things that you're actively using or causes that you are actively passionate about, like personally. So I do value that. I think that's also important for anybody moving into that space.
There's too much
for themselves and for their audience. I think that's super important.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of just like fakeness out there. And one thing that I'm very much a values-driven person, as I've said. So I think something for me is I could never put something out there that I truly do not believe in. I think that would create a level of distrust with the community I have online that I don't want to ever kind of create. I also just think there's so many things that I can talk about that do align with me, so why would I choose the ones that don't? I've in the past even like been offered like a lot of money to do things, but they did not feel aligned with who I was, and I could not actively do that. But I think a lot of people don't have that mindset at all. I think people are comfortable just being like, oh, I'll take the money and I'll do it, and who knows how this is going to land, if at all. But I think it's important to remain true to who you are, for sure, because that's going to create the community and the trust and really just kind of create like a level of closeness with your audience that you won't have if you're just pushing content or like pushing some sort of product that you really don't care about.
Yeah, that's something we talked about in an organizational leadership class right now.
Oh,
so
cool.
We were, like, talking about ethics and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I think more so, like as time continues to go on, consumers are more focused on the ethics of a person, of a company. That's like something that's more important to consumers now.
Absolutely.
So it's even more important that as a content creator, as an entrepreneur, whatever, you're only pushing things that you're also like supporting and you're conscious of that.
Yeah, no, I think that conscientiousness is just really, really important. And I think, like I said, because there is a shift towards some more like cause-based stuff, it is easier to find stuff and like opportunities that are more aligned with you because you have that like sort of social impact spirit, at least for me personally. So I've appreciated that.
How do you stay motivated?
Oh God, I cry a lot.
I believe it.
That's a good question. I am somebody that is very type A, very highly motivated, I will say. But I also experience burnout a lot because of that. There's been a lot of instances too where I feel like I haven't given myself time or like a social life. Like I know last semester I was working so much, like my body started like taking a toll. I was getting back pain, my eyes were twitching, like you could tell like I was not well. So I went home, took a mental health break for 2 weeks. I felt a lot better, but that being said, I think it's just important to make sure to have some balance, and I've been trying to really be proactive about that, whether that be like setting boundaries with friends, you know, making sure I'm taking time to like enjoy myself, or like now spending time with my girlfriend, spending time with my family, my dog, those sorts of things. Kind of keeps me motivated, because if I'm just working all the time, it is just, you just burn out. And I think with the nature of the work that I do, I'm so chronically online in one way or another. Yeah. I'm either checking your group chat, I'm doing something for like the organization, I'm, you know, online and posting content or making content or whatever. And like, I think just the nature of that makes it constantly in your face. So if you're not taking a break and not setting boundaries with the online space, like you are going to burn out. Your eyes are going to twitch. Like you're not going to.
You have to be conscious about it. It's like I log on, I just want to like keep scrolling, laugh at some funny videos, and then this guy would be like, "Oh, 10 SEO tips." And I'm like, oh, well now I'm like working.
Yeah.
Like my brain is working, but I don't realize it. And then you don't realize all these little things that you're doing. And then you burn out and you're like, oh my God, I'm so fucking tired. Like,
yeah, it's true. And I think because I have become more of a creator, I don't go on Instagram to really enjoy it. I go on because I'm like, okay, what do I have to do? Or whose message do I have to answer? Or like that sort of thing. Like, it's not as enjoyable as it used to be.
Yeah.
I specifically set aside time on TikTok to follow my makeup creators and go through and see all their videos at nighttime before I go to bed. And that is my fun time on TikTok.
Yeah.
But the rest of the time, I'm like, okay, like, what trends are we looking at? Like, what's going on? Like, what happened with Fletcher and Shannon? Like, I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, gotta stay in the know. But it's just work. And so, yeah, I think creating a space where social media can still be fun is also still good. So then you don't feel that burnout as much in the space.
What advice do you have for anybody trying to get into content creation, be an entrepreneur, start their own business?
Yeah, make sure you're surrounding yourself with people that believe in you. Don't let, what people have to say about you, their lack of support, anything like that deter you from putting yourself out there. Make sure you're really surrounding yourself with people that want to see you do your best in this space or in any space. Never don't let people surround you that are just kind of holding you back from that. I think that's really important. And if people are not showing up for you, they're not showing support for you, or just, engaging with your content or just hyping you up, then they're not your people. You need to find those people because those people exist, and those are the people that are going to push you to be the best version of yourself.
Yeah, so. I agree. I think you and I had that conversation at your 5 Iron event.
Yeah.
It was I have spent the past 2 years creating my vision to other people, suppressing that vision because I'm afraid of what my friends will think, or oh, my friends won't support this, or a picture of me out at the bar would get fucking 300 likes, but then I start a podcast and it gets 10 likes. It's you can't help it.
It's scary.
You can't help it. Okay, maybe this isn't what I should be doing. Maybe I, instead of thinking about maybe I should change the people I'm surrounding myself with.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there just comes so much judgment with that. The idea of people not supporting you and judging you in this space because you're putting yourself out there. I mean, it can feel incredibly intimidating, but people are just jealous too. You always have to remember, if people are hating on you and you're making your full-time income online, okay. Yeah. Okay, that's fine. That's fine with me. You can hate on me. I don't really care. Obviously I'm so grateful to be able to do that, but I think there comes just some sort of the way women judge other women, and a lot of those things come into play too. It's jealousy, and you just can't let that taint your image of what you're doing. If you believe in what you're doing and what you're doing matters, then that is what matters to you.
I heard one piece of advice that was if I don't want to live my life the way that somebody is living their life, if I wouldn't take advice from this person, then I won't take the criticism.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what I've been keeping that in mind the past month. Anytime anybody has something to say, I'm okay, would I take advice from you?
Yeah, literally.
No. I see how you live your life. I don't want to live.
Yeah, it's a reflection of them and how they feel about themselves versus how they actually will show up for you.
Yeah.
For sure. Thank you for having me. This was wonderful. We'll have to do it again sometime, but I appreciate you chatting with me. And, again, I'm so supportive of you and your endeavors, so I'm really excited to see what happens.
Hell yeah.